natural cocoa beans from the upper slopes of Mountain Nicaragua, no artificial sweetener. Who you talking to?
Where better to dive into product placement on social media than with the oddly satisfying yet borderline absurd world of Restock influencers? You'll see that this corner of the internet has become one giant, never-ending commercial. Hello there and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, hello and welcome. I'm so glad you found your way here. My name is Carolyn and this is Over the Influence, a series where we uncover the wild and often shady world of influencer marketing, advertising, and social media manipulation. Together, we'll dive deep into the tactics that brands use to pull you in, from deceptive marketing tactics to influencers whose content feels less like thoughtful, meaningful creation and more like a cleverly disguised sales pitch. So here on Over the Influence, we're over it and we're here to call it out. Today, instead of calling out a clever new marketing tactic like AI influencers, which is what we did last week, we are going to take a closer look at an absolute classic: product placement. It's a marketing tactic with a long history that's become pretty widely accepted as a best practice, but thanks to social media, in my opinion, it's starting to spiral out of control. Let's jump in.
Here. Got this for you at the market.
What is it?
It's new product for your skin. You wash your face with it in the morning, and not only does it get your skin clean, it gives you a burst of energy. So if your date doesn't go so well tonight, tomorrow morning you get up, you use this, and maybe you get enough energy to do something else, Grace. Something that's good for you.
I just love that. So when I started thinking about how to explore the topic of product placement, this clip immediately came to mind because, wow, this is an example of product placement that could not have been more obvious if they slapped a literal neon buy now sign on that product. Honestly, I loved everything about it. The way the mom held up that clean and clear product like she was starring in a commercial, that zoom in shot, it was just chef's kiss. Now let's rewind for a second here. When I was 13 watching The Secret Life of the American Teenager, would I have been able to spot that for what it was? Maybe, maybe not. And that's a whole conversation in itself. But watching this now as an adult, I think we can all see that for exactly what it was: product placement. Because here's the reality: whether we like it or not, brands pay the creators of TV shows, movies, and even social media channels to include moments like this. Because for better or for worse, every form of media does need to make money somehow. And one of the most effective ways of making that money up front is through product placement. But what makes this particular example so great is just how blatant it is. It's almost comically obvious. It reminds me even of that scene from The Truman Show, which if you've seen that movie, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. Let's watch.
You can't stand me. That's not true. Why don't you let me fix you some of this new low cocoa drink? All natural cocoa beans from the upper slopes of Mountain Nicaragua, no artificial sweeteners. What the hell are you talking about? Who are you talking to? I've tasted other cocos. This is the best.
Oh my god. Gets me every time. Again, what makes this so funny is we know exactly what's happening here. It's so obvious, it's completely transparent. There's actually countless examples out there of actors breaking the fourth wall to perform a form of product placement. And that level of obviousness is actually really refreshing to me. So with that said, if you could do me the biggest favor in the world and drop the most recent example you've seen of product placement, maybe it was in a recent movie or TV show, I am just super curious to see what comes to mind because I know we all consume different forms of media, and looking into this stuff is super interesting to me. Also, I would love to do a full deep dive into the history of product placement one day. There's just so much to unpack, from how it evolved through the growth of the film industry to its early role in TV shows, and now even to this. Just a few months ago, Paris Hilton dropped a music video for her new song BBA, which I cannot play the whole music video for you because of copyright issues, but I will give you a sneak peek of exactly what stood out to me and so many others, these not so subtle examples of obvious product placement. And I'll give her credit where credit's due. She managed to pack quite a few in there and almost make the product placement itself funny enough that it is obvious, but is definitely doing its job at the same time. But here's the thing, watching this video made me stop and wonder for a second, are we witnessing a new phase, like the next phase of advertising evolution? Or are we even already living it? Because it's starting to feel like there's this blending happening between entertainment and art and also shopping experiences and being sold to, and putting consumerism at the absolute front of all media. It's just something to think about, and honestly, I'm not really sure if it's an evolution we're witnessing or if it's something that we're already living. In fact, in my research, I actually even came across a tech company that claims to automatically find the right placement opportunity and iterate near instantly for different demographic segments. So basically, what they're saying is, in a music video like this, instead of seeing the 5 brands that Paris was contractually obligated to show through the partnerships that she entered into, instead, technology like this could use your data from your shopping habits or social media habits or who knows what else to show you the products that you are most likely to purchase. So essentially, imagine that you are watching the new Paris Hilton music video and your friend's watching it on their phone right next to you, only you're seeing different products because the experience is completely tailored to you. And I am not at all surprised that this is where tech is going, because with social media, our algorithms are so unique to us that this experience of being fed products that are already something that we have shown interest or some sort of indication that we're primed to buy this. It's a reason why we're shown the same product over and over and over again when we're on social media. Algorithms and brands are really smart when it comes to this kind of marketing. And I've even had conversations where I've said things like, well, you know what? I'd rather see products that I'm interested in than like golf balls or something that I would never buy or don't care about. And I don't know, I guess I've just had to take a bit of a step back to think more about that, if that is really something that I want, if I really don't care that these brands have such unlimited access to my data, and if I really am happy to be shown products that I might find useful. Because that has happened before, of course. I've bought products from advertisements that were perfectly curated for me that have led to me owning products that do make my life better. That is true. But I think that we all can admit and see that there is this trend of this insane level of consumerism when it comes to products that we can find on Amazon or Temu, or just this trend of wasteful plastic products, or overconsumption is a huge topic right now, which I'm sure we'll get into on this channel at some point. So now I'm getting off onto a tangent. I'm going to reel myself in a little bit. But now that we have talked a bit about what product placement is, let's take a look at how this phenomenon sneaks into social media in ways that we consume every single day, often in ways that are really sneaky, and we may not even consciously pick up on the fact that we are being fed an advertisement right now, because it really truly does come up as just true, organic, entertaining, relaxing, whatever you want to call it, content. For legal purposes, I do want to make it clear that everything I say in this video is my own personal opinion and just an interpretation of what I'm seeing. The wonderful thing about opinions is that we are all entitled to our own, and I wholeheartedly do encourage you to form your own as well. All right, and with that, where better to dive into the murky waters of product placement on social media than with the oddly satisfying yet borderline absurd world of Restock influencers. You know, the people on social media who make consumerism somehow look like a competitive sport. These creators have turned the simple act of organizing and replenishing products into a strangely satisfying and borderline addictive genre of content. And here's where it gets interesting. These videos honestly remind me of what we talked about last week with those AI influencers, where there's no real person to hold accountable for any sketchy behavior. Because here, there's no personality who is keeping you hooked and keeping you continue scrolling. The products are the star of the show. And the result, well, if you take a step back, like we're going to do here today, you'll see that this corner of the internet has become one giant, never-ending commercial. And along the way, some of your favorite brands, ones you probably love and find genuinely valuable, have found their way into weaving themselves into this kind of content. And my goal isn't to make you hate those brands or even to make any direct accusations against any multi-billion-dollar companies, but simply to open our minds a bit and help us recognize these tactics so we can all just be more aware of them. However, what I will say is that as someone who has almost a decade of experience on admittedly the far less enticing side of marketing on the business-to-business side, from my perspective, where I'm standing, it does seem like influencers and probably the brands behind them who are actually pulling the strings are starting to blur the lines between clever marketing and outright manipulation, even abuse of social media channels that once were a lot more valuable to us than they are today. In my opinion, these Restock influencers have turned consumerism into a bit of a quirky personality trait, and honestly, I do think it's time that we take a closer look. So let's dive into those murky waters of product placement and see what's really going on beneath the surface. Notice how in these videos, the brand product packaging is always center screen. You never accidentally miss the logo. You know what I mean? So much scent boosting happening here. All right, so if you found that clip oddly satisfying or relaxing in any way, you are absolutely not alone. With over 430,000 views and 50,000 likes, this is just one of hundreds and thousands of viral Restock videos all across social media. And if you've seen these types of videos before, you probably know the formula. We have ASMR vibes, satisfying organization, and a special focus on beautifully arranged and often brand new products. These videos are captivating because they do a great job of tapping into our brain's love for predictability and order. A quick side note I have to mention though, I spent hours doing research for this video earlier this week just as I was coming down with one of the worst flus I've ever had in my life. If I sound stuffy, it is because I am still actively getting over it. There's not much more I can do today other than sitting in this chair and talking to you here. However, I've found since kind of getting ready to film today that as I'm watching these Restock videos back, they are bringing up these really uncomfortable feelings of being sick for me. It reminds me of a story my husband told me about when he was sick as a kid. His mom had pea soup and he was eating a lot of pea soup to make him feel comforted and get better. And for years, he could not take a single bite of pea soup because it reminded him of that feeling of being sick. And I kind of worry, or maybe I shouldn't worry, that Restock videos might be ruined for me because they are bringing up those feelings of being sick. The association is too strong. So yeah, very interesting layer to add to our experience here today. But Anyways, if you're wondering really why are Restock videos so viral right now, well, many videos like this are oftentimes used as a form of self-regulation. In fact, social media in general can be used as a form of self-regulation, as a way to calm us down when we're feeling particularly stressed or anxious. In fact, in my own experience, when I have moments where all of a sudden I feel very stressed about something, anxious about something, I will find myself clicking on a social media app before I even know what my hand is doing. And when it comes to videos like this, we have the soothing sounds, the calming visuals, there's not too much overstimulation happening. It's almost hypnotic in a way. And that's part of what makes Restock videos the perfect vehicle for product promotion. They are disarming in a way that can possibly leave us open to influence without us really even clocking it. But again, going back to the concept of these faceless Restock videos, it truly is the product that is the star of the show. So in this video, did you catch anything in particular about who the real star was here? Let's go back for a second and just take another look. Notice again how the product packaging is so perfectly centered on screen. We've got Tide Pod detergent, Downy scent boosting beads, and Gain scent boosting beads. All pretty well-known brands, right? But here is the kicker that I noticed. Do all of these brands have anything in common? If you guessed that they are all owned by the same multi-billion-dollar parent company, then you would be right. Tide, Downy, and Brain. Tide, Downy, and Gain are all owned by the parent company, Procter & Gamble. For reference, is currently valued at $377 billion. And a massive company like this is no stranger to finding creative ways to market and bundle their products together. Take, for example, this deal from 2021. Buy 3 of any Tide, Gain, or Downy products at Target and you'd receive a $10 gift card. Or head over to Amazon today where you can shop bundled Tide and Downy products right now. In marketing, bundling your own products is a tried and true practice that can help you increase brand exposure, increase perceived value, and ultimately in the cases we just looked at is definitely to increase bulk purchasing. So when we watch this video, I really don't think that we would be out of the realm of possibility to wonder, could this be a form of product placement? But here's the thing, it's a pattern we're going to follow as we go through all the videos that I've put together for us to look at today. There is no indication at all that this is an advertisement. There is no TikTok label, the paid partnership label. There is no hashtag sponsored or even hashtag ad. And let's be clear, even if there were hashtags, TikTok does make it clear that any branded content is required to use the paid partnership label to make it clear and conspicuous that this is a paid partnership. So what's happening here? Well, we can go in a lot of different directions here. Could this influencer's choice to feature these products simply be because she prefers them? They are well-known products. Perhaps she believes that since the general audience that she has may be familiar with them, that her video may perform better. That's possible. Or could she perhaps be trying to get the attention of these brands to try to secure a future brand deal? Possibly. That kind of thing happens all the time too. But maybe, just maybe, we really should be looking a little bit closer here. And here's something I like to do when I come across content like this. I click onto the creator's account to see if they have a management company. And in this case, this creator works with the influencer marketing platform Pearpop. So now, while Procter & Gamble isn't listed on Pearpop's website as a client, that doesn't necessarily mean that they aren't one. Brands have to agree to allow platforms like Pearpop to feature their logo and disclose that they are a client. And many choose not to do so. However, what we do here see are here are some massive household name brands that do seem to align with the scale and influence of a brand like Procter & Gamble. And here's another detail I just wanted to include. On Pearpop's Get a Demo form, which if I was working in marketing for a brand like Procter & Gamble, I could use this form to get a demo of the platform to understand if it would make sense for my business. This drop-down menu here at the bottom lets you report a yearly influencer marketing budget of up to $1 million, which I wish that I could say is a ridiculous amount of money that only a brand like Procter & Gamble would have access to for an influencer marketing budget. But I do know that is just not the case. It's really crazy how much money a lot of these companies out there have to spend. But that does at least tell me that, you know, the companies they work with absolutely do have influence. So I'm not making any direct accusations here, but when we see an influencer who absolutely does seem to work with household name brands, it's interesting that a Restock video that once again feels like a commercial isn't labeled as one, but is probably just as effective as if Procter & Gamble had paid for this video to be made. It's just a lot to think about, but it's important to think about. And that question I just mentioned, which is, why does this feel like an oddly satisfying commercial? And I can guarantee if you open your app right now and started scrolling through Restock videos with this mindset, you would also start wondering, why does every single one of these just look like consumerism on steroids? I mean, this is a brand's dream, this form of social media marketing. So again, there's a reason why I call this diving into the murky waters of product placement, because there is so much gray area here. I think that we're going to leave this particular video with more questions than answers, but think that all of us will leave here asking the right questions, which is, who's actually getting paid here? And more importantly, how are they getting paid? So on the surface, Restock videos seem very simple. We see comments all the time on videos like this that say something like, my form of therapy, because of how calming they are and relaxing. But when we take a closer look, it becomes clear that they are far more powerful than they seem. So with that, let's jump into the next video and see exactly what I mean. I wonder who could be the star of this video. Lots of brands in that video. So you know what I've been saying about the fact that the products are the star of the show when it comes to these Restock videos. Well, in this particular video, I counted that there were 15 different branded products shown. Would you be able to guess which one of those products is behind this video, or the true star, we could say? So watching it back, it does become pretty clear if you know what to look for, because one brand did arrange for this video to be made, which we can assume there was at least some sort of gift or payment involved. However, I definitely wouldn't say that it's clear and conspicuous, but here is your first clue. In this 27-second video out of 15 branded products, only one product got about 7 to 8 seconds of screen time, while all the other products got 1 to 2 seconds. When it comes to social media marketing, something like 8 seconds of screen time versus 1 to 2 is a pretty big difference. So yes, maybe you caught it when you were watching it back, or maybe you caught it the first time, but Ollipop is the brand that partnered with this Restock influencer who has 1.1 million followers to create this video, which has racked up 3 million views, 50,000 likes, 4,000 saves, and 3,900 shares. But here is the big question. If you randomly saw this video pop up in your feed, maybe on your evening scroll, would you be able to tell that this was an ad? Honestly, I wouldn't. And here's why. In this case, you would actually have to press that more button at the bottom, which would expand the caption, and then you would see that the creator tagged drink Ollipop and use the hashtag Ollipop partner. Now, as I've mentioned before, this just does not meet TikTok's requirement for an ad disclosure. Again, I know I sound like a broken record at this point, but TikTok requires creators to use the toggle that will then bring up the paid partnership label on any branded content whatsoever. And yet, if you are a user of TikTok, I am sure that you've noticed creators and influencers left and right are opting not to use the paid partnership label, which it's really easy on the back end to just press that toggle. You get the paid partnership label. It's very obvious that you've disclosed that this is an ad. But yeah, no, creators every single day, I see them all the time where something is obviously an ad, or they'll even come outright and say that they are working with this brand or they're on the brand's PR list, and yet the paid partnership label is nowhere to be found literally every single day. And we'll get more into why this is happening and why creators choose not to do this in just a little bit. But here's the thing, when we are talking about TikTok creators with 1.1 million followers who regularly rack up hundreds and thousands of views, these creators are huge and experienced, most likely, and they absolutely know better. They just choose not to do better. But what's even worse, in my opinion, is these brands like Ollipop, from where I'm standing, just don't seem to be enforcing these rules either. Yes, TikTok requires influencers to use the paid partnership label, and yes, it is ultimately up to that influencer to press that button. However, I think something people seem to forget is that brands have the final say over what influencers can and cannot do when it comes to a contractual agreement. And as someone, I've mentioned it before on this channel, as someone who was a van life creator, I spent a couple years doing van life with my husband and my dog, and I love video as a format for storytelling and connecting with others. So I jumped on TikTok and tried my hand at short form video and at capturing some of my memories on film, and oh my God, not on film, on an iPhone. But I did, through that experience, have a few brand deals where I made advertisements for products in which I found useful and valuable and thought would also resonate with my audience. And I learned a lot through that experience from the not only the marketing side of things, but the creator side of things. And in my experience, I know firsthand that I received contracts that both did and did not include clear guidelines around needing to use the paid partnership label. There were some brands that required me to do that because I'm sure they know the importance of transparent marketing practices and wanted to ensure their compliance not only with their brand, but also the influencers who are representing their brand. And at the same time, I also recall getting contracts where that was not the case, and I was explicitly told only to hashtag brand partnered or whatever, or hashtag ad, which is very, very different. And again, we'll get more into why that is so different in just a little bit. So all that to say is that I think if we're ever going to see meaningful change here, it's going to start with the brands like Ollipop. I want to see them show us that they value ethical marketing and they value their audience and customer base enough to want to be clear on when they are using their marketing budget to sell to us, because we're not dumb. We know that we're being sold to left and right on social media, and we can choose when to or not to partake in those advertisements because we can appreciate advertisements for what they are. What I want to see is brands like Ollipop showing us that they value ethical marketing and transparent marketing. I want to see these brands hold their influencers who represent them to higher standards. Anything less is just sending the message that bending the rules that are there for a reason are just a small cost of doing good business. It's no big deal. And that's a slippery slope. It really is. And here's the other thing, by tagging Ollipop and having the hashtag in this way, the creator is actually placing what little disclosure they did include below the fold. So in marketing below the fold, essentially it used to mean, going way back into the day, like if you had a flyer, anything at the top that you could see is above the fold, and anything that's literally below where it folded is not what the customer will immediately, or the audience will immediately see. Now, in digital marketing, where I work, we use that same term for a website. When you visit a website, anything above the fold is anything you see before you scroll. And to me, this goes the same with something like a caption. If you have to scroll or you have to click to be able to see that information, it's below the fold. And as marketers, we know statistically our audience is way more likely to see whatever is at the top above the fold, and they will react to that information and take in that information at a much higher rate than they will below the fold because people aren't as likely to click or scroll. So we know the most important information should always be included above the fold, like an ad disclosure. However, that is absolutely not the case here. Now, I know I've really been harping on this one, but I want to add just one more layer here. So I recently came across a review for Ollipop on the website called FYPM, which stands for F You Pay Me, which is a site where creators can share their experiences working with brands. If you're a fellow creator, I highly recommend it. However, I will note that to join this website, you have to either share a review of a brand that you have previously worked with, or you have to pay for access. So since these reviews are behind a paywall, I don't want to include the review word for word. But from what I remember, this creator had mentioned that Ollipop had paid them for one dedicated video and then also for 2 product placement videos where they naturally worked Ollipop into their normal kind of content. And they also noted that they loved being part of Ollipop's PR list. So what does that tell us? Well, in my opinion, this review tells me that Ollipop's team absolutely does understand the value of product placement when it comes to social media marketing, especially if they are paying an influencer to just casually work their products into their normal content. I do believe that this is something that happens all the time, and answers around whether or not Ollipop is still encouraging their influencers to disclose that that type of content is an advertisement is pretty unclear to me. And if I had to guess based on my own experience as a user of social media and on what I'm seeing, I would go as far to guess that a lot of these brands are not asking their creators to do that. They're only hoping that these creators will simply work them into their normal content. Now, second, this also tells me that Ollipop definitely knows the value of a PR list, which is a whole other world that we'll kind of brush up on in this video. And to see how much Ollipop does leverage its PR list, all you have to do is look up Ollipop on TikTok and you'll see how many videos come up from creators of all shapes and sizes, both reviewing Ollipop and just kind of featuring these products in their videos. PR lists are a great way of keeping products top of mind. But here's the thing that not everybody knows that needs to be part of this conversation is that whether something is gifted to you or if you're actually being paid to create a video about it, that is still considered branded content. And per TikTok's guidelines, you do still have to use that paid partnership toggle. And I know that's confusing for a lot of creators, and it was confusing for me too when I was first getting started because I'm like, I'm not getting paid for this. I was just given it. That's not what, but it's true. You do have to disclose that this is a paid partnership, although that is just not something that we see happening. It's not at all. It's kind of just this open secret that I guess people don't have to do that. But another fun fact is that you do also as a creator have to pay taxes on the monetary value of anything you're gifted. So it's not a black and white situation. Now, with that said, with our minds sort of open to the fact that product placement is absolutely happening all over social media and that these PR lists are happening with so many companies and creating this experience of natural product placement that creators don't think has to be disclosed, I want to talk about one of the most powerful concepts when it comes to social media marketing, which is repetition. So marketers have long understood the power of repetition when it comes to shaping consumer behavior and getting people to buy your products. So there's a concept in marketing psychology called the mere exposure effect. Essentially, it suggests that the more that we're exposed to something, the more familiar we are with it and the more we are primed to like it. So in my own experience on the B2B side of marketing, I've held titles like Lifecycle Marketing Manager, which is a fancy way of saying that I am responsible for creating a lot of different touch points, as we call them, across the buying lifecycle, which could be on the B2B side, something like reading some blog posts, watching a webinar, seeing some advertisements. But while I think very deeply about the many experiences that a buyer could have with all of these resources and how it helps them go further down the buying lifecycle and helps them overcome all of these obstacles they may have with ultimately purchasing the product, a huge, powerful part of lifecycle marketing is genuinely just repetition. And as we touched upon quickly at the top of this video, our algorithms on social media are already primed to show us more of what we've already engaged with or what we've already shown to be interested in. And that goes the same for a lot of the products that we are shown in advertisements or even the kind of products that keep coming up based on the kind of influencers we find interesting. So naturally, this mere exposure effect and the power of repetition is really, really strong and powerful when it comes to social media. And again, brands know this. We can even look at a brand like Ollipop, who has a massive marketing budget and truly understands that getting their products featured in Restock videos will then be shown over and over and over again to an audience that is already primed to enjoy Restock videos. It again creates this feedback loop where audiences see these products over and over again. They associate them with these calming, clean cut, relaxing feelings that they get every time they watch these Restock videos. And maybe, just maybe, that might contribute to why they feel more likely to buy them when they're at the grocery store. So with all this in mind, let's jump into our next clip and see if we can spot this repetition in action. The caption of this next video is "Restock with me, my teenager's skincare products." Are you thinking what I'm thinking? I almost wish she would have just put one different brand in here, just to be funny. So silly. And there we have it. There is always so much to unpack in these Restock videos, and unfortunately we just don't have hours and hours to get into every last detail. I will say though, if the first question that came to mind is, who the heck needs that much skincare, never mind just from one brand, you are not alone. A creator I love to binge who does a great job of tackling the overconsumption side of Restock videos is Hannah Alonso. So if you somehow stumbled across my little channel before finding her, you definitely should go check her out. But today, of course, we're going to focus on this video from a different perspective of why is this happening? What is in it for the brand? What's in it for the creator? And most importantly, who is making the big bucks in all of this? Because somebody always is. So again, I'm sure it will come as no surprise to you that this video, which has over 670,000 views and 45,000 likes, is not a disclosed advertisement. But if we were to ask the question of what brand is benefiting from this exposure, I don't think it would be too hard for us to come up with the same answer. I counted, and math is not my strong suit, but if I did count correctly, there are 41 CeraVe products featured in this video. 41! And just for fun, if you call fun excruciatingly starting and stopping this video and then reverse Google searching product images, I managed to look up every single one of these products on Amazon to figure out how much they would all cost. So if my findings are all correct, if you were to buy every single one of these products for yourself, or like in this creator's case for your teenager, they would cost you about $650. $6. Also, a funny story I have to mention here is my husband and I share an Amazon account. And like I told you earlier, I spent hours watching these restock videos to research for this video. And later that night, my husband came out to the living room where I was working, and he was like, "Hey, Carolyn, why do you have 41 CeraVe products in our Amazon shopping cart?" And I was like, "Oh, that is fully for research purposes. Don't you worry." And he was like, "Okay, good. I was a little bit worried that you were over here just hypnotizing yourself into buying these products." So luckily, no, I did not hypnotize myself into buying these products. I only hypnotized myself into feeling sick now every single time I watch a restock video. All right, so let's break this down. Even if this was not an organized, paid for advertisement, featuring a ridiculous amount of CeraVe products absolutely did help it go viral, in my opinion. Because if we think about it, again, we're going into the ridiculousness of restock videos as a whole. There are a ridiculous amount of products here, and so many of them even compete with themselves. We have night cream versus PM cream. It's just a ridiculous amount of excess that, unfortunately, us on social media, this is kind of a form of rage bait. We are primed to respond to silliness like this. If we go through the comments of this video, we see people say things like, "Do you think she even like CeraVe?" Creators of this magnitude with millions of followers have figured out how to get audiences to engage with their videos, and sometimes playing little almost pranks like this on their own audience is a really effective way of doing it. And again, the engagement just speaks for itself. People are sharing this video, probably getting a laugh with their friends, they're commenting on the absurdity of all of it. And you have to think from the creator's perspective here. Even if she did spend over $600 on all this product, there's a good chance that if she's in the creator fund, she could have even made all of that money back. Last I checked, the creator fund pays creators 50 cents to $1 per 1,000 views. So doing the math, she could have possibly made anywhere from $335 to $670 from this video alone. But one thing's for sure, even if CeraVe was not at all involved with creating this video, it definitely got the brand's attention. Their branded account commented on this video saying, "Might just be the best restock video we've seen." So with that, even if this wasn't an ad, I can show you one that definitely is, because the plot thickens. So let's timeline this. This video was posted in June of 2024. Now, fast forward to December 2024, and we see a different video from the same creator. This time, an actual disclosed ad for CeraVe. Now, let's check this one out and see if we can notice anything different. I'm having flashbacks. Peep the CeraVe swag everywhere. Oh my god. See it? All right, what we love about that video, again, is it's a disclosed ad. She even hashtagged ad on the screen, but most importantly, she used the paid partnership label, as you're supposed to on TikTok. But now here's where it gets interesting. Just days after posting this disclosed ad, she posted another video that looks suspiciously similar. Same products, same restock concept, but this next one, not disclosed at all. So let's watch. That's enough. I'm so serious about these videos making me feel sick. Ugh. All right, so what could be the difference between these two videos? Why did she post one that was a disclosed ad and then this next one that was not at all a disclosed ad just 2 days later? Well, here's the kicker, and it's bringing us to the whole reason why so many creators out there choose not to use that paid partnership label. The disclosed ad, the one with the paid partnership label, got 132,000 views, but only 550 likes, which is nothing to sneeze at until you take a closer look at the organic follow-up video, which featured all the same products in a very similar format, except the organic video that was not a disclosed ad racked up 1.4 million views and 107,000 likes. So what's happening here? Again, yes, this highlights exactly why creators are reluctant to use that paid partnership toggle. Because yes, when you use the paid partnership label, it does tend to restrict your video in the algorithm. You don't get as many views. I remember learning that the hard way the first time I ever did a paid partnership brand deal with a brand on TikTok, and that video got 500 views. And this was at a time that I was used to seeing about 5,000 views on my videos. I put hours of work into editing every single one just perfectly. But the reality is, the second that your video is an advertisement, I don't know if it's whether, or maybe it's a combination of the fact that your audience is going to scroll past it faster because people don't want to be sold to. They're going to scroll past an ad, or if it's because TikTok does want their brands to pay them on the back end to promote advertisements. So maybe TikTok naturally restricts these types of videos so that brands are incentivized to use the pay to promote feature to push these out to a greater audience. What's actually happening on the back end here, I can't say for sure, but what I can say is, again, that I believe that brands should be focusing less on trying to achieve fake virality and more on building trust with their audiences. From where I'm standing, I do believe that people want to see transparency from the brands that they give their money to. I think the moment that people start to feel manipulated or deceived, that trust is at risk, and that can be very detrimental to a brand. Once the trust is gone, your entire brand credibility is gone. At the end of the day, I think these brands are engaging with these kind of short-term shady tactics, and it's not gonna be worth any long-term repercussions that come with us looking at these brands and saying they took advantage of us when social media was on the rise and things weren't quite regulated yet. Now, when it's coming to the advertisement that we just saw versus the organic one that was posted just a couple days later, I can't tell you exactly what's happening behind the scenes, but I do have a few theories. Theory one is maybe this creator realized that her sponsored ad did not perform as well as all of her other organic videos, so whatever her deal was with CeraVe, maybe she felt like she didn't deliver on what she was hoping to, and for that reason put together a second video out of whatever the goodness of her own heart to send them a message that she is worth investing in and can reach these extremely wide million-plus view audiences. Theory number two, going off of my first theory, perhaps this is part of a wider strategy of sending a message to all of the brands that she could potentially work with, that she doesn't just feature your products in the advertisement that you agreed to, but she goes as far as to then use your products for future videos that she uses in her own content. That's also sending a message to brands that she's a creator to invest in. They're going to get a lot of impressions out of working with her. Theory three, I obviously have no proof, no way to prove that this is the case at all. This is just me reacting to what I'm seeing. But I think that there's always a chance that when we're seeing a organic video with the same products just days after the advertisement, I do just kind of wonder, are there these deals going on in the background where brands are paying a creator to create that one dedicated video that is disclosed as an ad, and maybe one or two extras that are just worked into their normal content rotation as product placement? Again, not making any direct accusations. I don't know for sure at all. just making some wild theories based on what I'm seeing. Because ultimately, it goes back to those questions. Why am I seeing it? What's in it for the creator? What's in it for the brand? Who's making money here? And how? Given that my voice is breaking up here, I'll take a quick moment to pause and ask you to please go ahead and subscribe if you find this content interesting, or also please like this video and even leave a comment down below. It really helps this channel, and again, it really helps keep this kind of content coming. And going back to those questions, those are exactly what we'll keep in mind as we dive into this next clip, which takes us down an entirely new rabbit hole into the ever-evolving universe of these carefully crafted deceptive marketing tactics and advertising schemes. And a quick note, I did put some different music over this video because they did use copyrighted music. Please, no one feel like you need to spend this much money on a teacher gift. Just keeps going. I feel like the most impossible game when it comes to Restock videos is who sponsored that video? Who paid for that video? It's the never-ending question. And of course, we all know where this is going. Every single one of these videos, we always have to ask, is this an ad? Well, if it is, it's certainly not a disclosed one. And as we've learned by now, there are so many possibilities here of what could be going on. But what I can tell you is that the creator of this video has 1.2 million followers, and the video itself has 800,000 views and 82,000 likes, but the thing that sent me down a rabbit hole when it came to this video was the brand that we just mentioned, Sol de Janeiro, because this is a brand that is a perfect example of taking a product that is genuinely solid and manufacturing a sense of virality that feels so real and so organic and is so convincing that it's almost impossible to tell that there's even a huge element of marketing genius and money at play. Because Sol de Janeiro has absolutely mastered the world of influencer marketing. In fact, in 2024 alone, Sol de Janeiro worked with over 6,000 influencers. 6,000 brand partnerships in just 1 year. And according to this article, this massive marketing push didn't just make waves, it tripled their sales, catapulting the company's revenue to over $1 billion. That is huge. So now let's set aside this whole is it an ad or is it not an ad conversation for just a second here, because I want to talk about the psychology behind this influencer marketing trend and some theories I have on why it works so well. Because a big part of why it is so hard to tell the difference between is this a paid advertisement or is it gifted collaboration or is it actually just an influencer who used their hard-earned money and walked into Ulta and bought a product and made a video out of it. The reason we could sit here for hours watching these videos, coming up with all the different theories and weighing them out and still not being able to come up with any conclusive answers is because of this influencer marketing phenomenon that is the big influencers at the top who are being paid to do these advertisements and often do not disclose them as paid partnerships are the role models for these smaller creators who are just getting started out or even moving up the ranks. And smaller creators are constantly watching and mimicking the bigger influencers. And it makes sense. We see this kind of thing all the time when these bigger creators are setting the benchmarks for success and then smaller creators are copying them. It really creates a ripple effect that can just become absolutely massive. And then now all of a sudden something that was a clearly paid for marketing campaign becomes becomes bigger than that. It becomes a viral phenomenon. And what's extra interesting to me is that this is not a new concept by any means to the social media age. I've been listening to this audiobook, and there was a particular story that stood out to me. Back in the early 1900s, Edward Bernays, who is often called the father of public relations, used a remarkably similar strategy to sell Mozart pianos. So instead of relying on these flashy in-your-face ads that say, buy Mozart pianos, they're wonderful, they're great, they're cheap, they work amazing. Yeah, instead of those very in-your-face ads, Bernays took a more subtle approach. His goal was to create psychological and emotional cues that show up all around them that slowly influence them to buy a piano without them even realizing it. So in essence, he didn't just want to sell a piano, he wanted to create an environment where people naturally want to buy them. So how did he do this exactly? Well, Bernays ended up working with top interior designers, not just to feature the Mozart pianos in the homes that they were designing, but they actually would design a new concept of a piano room. And these rooms weren't just beautiful, they were trend-setting, they were a statement, they were a new concept entirely. And as the concept gained traction, smaller designers began to replicate it as well. So his investment in these major top interior designers slowly trickled down and created something that was the early 1900s version of manufactured virality. Because before long, owning a piano wasn't just a luxury, it was the thing to do, it was a cultural norm. So yes, now flash forward 100 years later, I do believe that's what we're seeing here with the Sol de Janeiro products. It starts with the major influencers at the top, it trickles down to the smaller influencers, and then it trickles down to us who are consuming this kind of content. So before we know it, this brand isn't just a product, it's a social phenomenon. So whether that's an intentional strategy or just a happy accident, I'll let you to decide. But here's something worth noting. Out of the 461 employees at Sol de Janeiro listed on LinkedIn, nearly half, 223 out of 461, work in marketing. And as someone who worked on a 30-person marketing department at a 150 company, that felt massive. So this is absolutely a calculated investment when it comes to influencer marketing. And let's also not forget the old PR list strategy here and how that plays into product placement. With over 6,000 collaborations with influencers in 2024, it's no surprise when you search Sol de Janeiro unboxing on TikTok, you'll find an endless stream of videos. But here's the kicker. Not one of them, I only scrolled for a few minutes, but not one of them is disclosed as a paid partnership. And honestly, at this point, I'm starting to feel like the hall monitor who is trying to enforce a rule that even the teachers know isn't actually a rule. No one actually cares if you do that around here. And it's making me start to wonder if the influencers know that there's no repercussions for not disclosing an advertisement, and the brands know there's no repercussions for not disclosing an advertisement, and the social media platforms aren't giving any repercussions for not disclosing an advertisement. Are these boundaries really in place? Does anyone really care about this stuff? It also brings to mind how Facebook recently removed its fact-checking features. I know that's a whole different conversation in itself, but it just makes me wonder about the future of disclosing ads on social media. Is this just another label that we see on social media that is slowly going to go away, as it's up to us, the users of social media, to discern every single piece of information we consume, whether it was paid for or not, whether this is part of a massive strategy to change our behavior? That is kind of what it feels to me like where this is going. And I think that's kind of concerning. I don't know if that's something we should just sit back and accept. You know what I mean? Because from where I'm standing, it just doesn't seem to matter whether a creator was paid $10,000 to feature a product in their 30-second video, or if they were given a PR gift to feature that product in their video, or if they're a 17-year-old who used their babysitting money to buy the product that their favorite influencers are using and put it in their video. No matter what, at the end of the day, it is is the brand who is absolutely benefiting from all of that. So it all goes back to what I said about product placement and the gray area here. I'm really curious to know what your thoughts are on the future of product placement. If you think there should be more regulations, if you think that we just have to sit back and let all this happen and that ad disclosures might just go away, I don't know. But like, genuinely, what are your thoughts here? Because I've been thinking about this for quite a while and I still don't have any clear answers here. So all of that to say, by now, I'm sure you understand why I call product placement the murky, murky waters of social media. The deeper we dive, the more unclear it gets. It's really hard to tell what's real, what's manufactured, and depending on how you look at it, what's just plain deceptive or genius marketing. However, this series is called Over the Influence because there are some black and white areas that I can say we're just pretty over. And if you were waiting for one glaring example of something that I don't find super acceptable, that is coming up in this next video. I just don't get it. I think it's the tapping that makes me feel sick. Alright, so let's talk about this one, why don't we? A viral and, in my opinion, an undisclosed ad, which has racked up 4.2 million views. And yes, you heard that right, 4.2 million views. That is a huge, huge reach, insanely viral. And it got 373,000 people who like it, which is just, ugh, right? But here's where things get interesting. Now, I know we've done this trick a few times, but again, if you ever feel suspicious about whether or not a video might be an ad, all you gotta do is step one, go to the creator's account. Do they have a management email listed? Oh, look at that. Yes, they do. Step two, check out the management company. And wouldn't you know it, Emerald Woods Management proudly advertises that they work with Bartesian premium cocktails on demand. You know, that $350 cocktail machine that was just featured in the video we watched. Let's connect the dots here. When you open up the comments, you can see that TikTok recommends this search term, which is the actual brand, which is telling me that people are definitely searching for this. This video is acting as a key advertisement to drive sales. I could put money on it, honestly. And again, it comes back to the bigger picture of we as viewers do have more power than we think. If we start paying attention to and supporting brands that are transparent and upfront about their sponsorships and do uphold the influencers that they work with to a higher standard, we can send a message, because ultimately it is content like this that is making social media such a worse place to be. And I know we have some serious influencer and social media haters on here, and that's fine. I totally get it. And maybe I am too much of an optimist, but I actually see a lot of value in social media. I personally have found creators that have opened my mind to new ideas and even new experiences and have helped me think differently, or even offered me entertainment that does mean something in the greater scheme of things, even if it is small or whatever. Now, I just want to take a second here to flip the script very quickly and examine a positive example of how a well-disclosed advertisement can actually lead to long-term exposure for a brand while also still keeping things ethical and transparent. So my friends Matt and Cass, I've mentioned them before on this channel, they are some of the most hardworking, genuine content creators I know. Essentially, on their YouTube channel, they're documenting their journey toward creating their little homestead in rural Tennessee. So if you love watching calming homestead content, definitely go check them out. They also do some travel content. They're such free spirits. I absolutely love them. And one thing I really admire about them and look up to is how selective they are when it comes to choosing which brands that they'll work with. They really, really care deeply about their audience and will only do sponsorships that truly align with their values. So here's a perfect example example, one of their biggest projects on the homestead was installing a solar system. And after doing their research, they decided to partner with Shop Solar, which was a brand they felt confident not only sharing with their audience, but also powering their entire homestead. And because they were transparent about the sponsorship, sharing their collaboration across their social media channels with the paid promotion label, their viewers knew exactly what the relationship was. Now, let's think about this from the perspective of product placement for a second. The solar setup is obviously a big part of their homestead, so it's naturally going to appear in the background of future videos. But here's the key. It's not shoved in your face. It's not the center of every single video. It's just there in the background. And if anyone was curious about how they could build a similar setup, they could easily find the video with the paid promotion disclosure that did mention the Shop Solar brand. So to me, this is the most ethical way to approach influencer marketing. As viewers, we can appreciate the brand Shop Solar for investing in creators that we know put a lot of time and energy and thought into their content. So now with that in mind, I want to show you one more Restock influencer scenario. And of course, this one just had to send me down one last rabbit hole to leave our heads spinning until my next video. Star of the show. I'm actually going to end it there because truly I can't watch more of these freaking videos. Now for context, this video actually came from the same influencer with 1.3 million followers who made that viral video / possible product placement featuring the $350 cocktail machine. Only this time we're talking about a TikTok video featuring a very well-known juicer with 435,000 views. But what really caught my eye is that this same video also racked up 181,000 views over on Instagram. So why does that matter, Carolyn? Well, let me explain. First, when I came across this video on TikTok, of course, I'm asking the same questions as we've gone through so many times. Why am I seeing this? Who is making money? This video just kind of feels like a commercial for the Ninja Juicer. But then I paused and thought, okay, maybe this isn't a disclosed ad because she's done previous ads with Ninja in the past. So then at that point, this is just her juicer that she's making juicing content with. But then should we expect her to disclose that she has a previous relationship with Ninja if that's the case? Or if she's already fulfilled that ad requirement, does she have to tell us that she's previously been paid by Ninja? You know what I mean? Just these questions that are coming up that kind of really demonstrate how much gray area is here. And please stick with me for a second because I know you're probably getting sick of no smoking gun and me harping about all this gray area, but this does get interesting in just a second. Curious, I did scroll over to Instagram to see if I could find any disclosed paid partnerships over there, but instead what I found was that same video, only this time I couldn't help but notice that the caption said, "Comment shots for links." Naturally, I did. And where did it lead me? Well, straight to her Amazon affiliate page. So this is where it gets interesting. Within seconds, I went from casually watching a Restock video to being funneled into buying a $550 juicing setup that I could purchase literally with 1 or 2 clicks. And the whole process just felt completely instantaneous. And here's the thing, again, with my background in B2B marketing, sometimes these buying processes can take months, if not years. So seeing something be set up to be so fast and frictionless, where a bot literally instantly responds with affiliate links for my convenience, feels like stepping into a totally different universe, both fascinating and a little bit like a Black Mirror episode. Because this is where our next rabbit hole begins, because this chat function that the influencer uses to create this seamless experience where, let's say maybe I've had a terrible day, one thing after another went wrong. I've been out all day, my car broke down, I'm exhausted, I missed a deadline at work. I come home and I sit down for a second to myself on my couch, open up Instagram to start scrolling, and I find my favorite Restock influencer content, which I would do if it didn't make me feel sick. and I start scrolling, and suddenly I can feel my heart rate calm, and I can take a deep breath, and this content just does something for me that is so relaxing. It puts me at ease. And then all of a sudden, while I'm in this vulnerable state that we can often turn to social media when we're feeling this way, I have gone from taking a second for myself to being faced with buying $550 worth of products. And let's be honest with ourselves, shopping addiction and how easy it is to engage in online shopping when we are feeling a certain type of way, or even if we're under the influence in one way or the other, it's a problem for a lot of people, and something that I would like to dive into a little bit more on this channel, like some of the statistics around it and research and all that good stuff. But I just want us to think about people in those situations and how this is, to me, a way of playing on people's vulnerabilities and making it very easy to make some massive impulsive decisions in the moment. So going back to that tool that this influencer used, this isn't just some weird shady third party she's using to hack the system and use bots. No, this is a key native feature of Instagram called Business AI. So what is Business AI? Well, it's a tool that Instagram rolled out to make it easier for businesses and creators to connect with their audiences and streamline the shopping experience. At its core, it automates interactions, responding instantly to specific comments with affiliate links, product recommendations, or calls to action. And it's efficient, it's powerful, and it's designed to turn passive viewers into active shoppers in a blink of an eye. So here's where things get even murkier for me. While this feature was designed to enhance the e-commerce experience for brands, I can't help but notice how little emphasis is placed on transparency or the safety of users of Instagram, which Instagram allows children who are at least 13 years old to use their platform, which goes back to the question I asked at the very beginning of that scene from The Secret Life of the American Teenager. At 13 years old, would I have been able to tell that it was product placement? I'm honestly not even sure. I was pretty dumb at 13, let's be real. And I don't know if 13-year-olds truly understand some of these things that maybe you are thinking to yourself, I already know that all of these are advertisements. I know people are making money behind the scenes, but not everybody does. And I think that's an important point here and something that we shouldn't forget. And we shouldn't just accept this stuff as normal, in my opinion. So yeah, platforms like Instagram, it just seems like they don't care so much about their users, and they care a lot more. They seem quite laser focused on making it as easy as possible for brands to sell directly to us users with as little friction as possible. So again, this is all just my opinion, and maybe I'm off base. I'm genuinely curious to know what your opinion is too. But it does kind of feel like these social media platforms are getting away from user experience and more toward driving sales and just ultimately making money. I guess it's not that surprising. And you know, when it comes to me speaking positively about social media, I really don't want to underplay the reality of how addicting social media can be. Earlier when I talked about how when I'm feeling some type of way, I find myself opening a social media app without even realizing it. Yeah, that's kind of a problem that I have. Social media apps are designed and extremely effective at keeping us engaged and keeping us scrolling for hours. And social media platforms know this, and they know the power, and they're not afraid to take advantage of it, at least from what I'm seeing. So it's really too bad, especially as someone who is an optimist about all the good things I talked about with social media. At the same time, we can see that it's making this shift from being a tool for connection and creativity to being almost entirely this engineered marketplace designed to keep us spending and spending and spending. It's a messy, layered issue. And at the end of the day, the point that I just want to make is that if there isn't a collective shift toward demanding transparency from these corporations and these social platforms, I just don't think that we can rely on influencers to make these changes. I really do believe that it starts with the brands at the top. And without that, we are just going to be stuck swimming in these murky, murky waters with me talking until I'm blue in the face about how much gray area there is here. And I don't want that reality for any of us. All right. And just in time, we have a special guest. Say hi, Willie. All right, so next week's video will be part of my influencer ad fails series, so please go ahead and tag me in any videos you think should be part of that series, whether it's suspected product placement, AI influencers, or any other straight up deceptive marketing tactics. Anything you see out there, please tag away and don't be shy. I definitely need your help to find this kind of stuff because my algorithm is only so large and I can only spend so many hours scrolling a day. And now here's one more thing that I really wanted to mention. What we covered today when it comes to product placement, even just in the world of Restock influencers, is really just scratching the surface. Social media is like the Wild West of advertising right now, and the lines between unethical and genius or standard marketing practices even are becoming so blurry it's almost impossible to tell them apart. Advertising is on fire across every platform. I'm endlessly fascinated by the history of how this all began, the present of what's happening, and even more so the future of what version of a Black Mirror episode we all could be stepping into. So now if you made it all the way to the end of this video, oh my goodness, thank you so much. Seriously, you are the best. You are my people. I hope that you can find a moment today to rest and recharge, or maybe even just find a second to do something that feels good. As for me, it's time to go take a nap and shake off the rest of this flu. I really hope I'm 100% better for our next video. I can't wait to see you back here next time.